the themes of the holiday, the feelings, the emotion, the energy of the holiday, and obviously each with their own perspective. So we're just going to jump right in. If anyone has any questions, please at any time feel free to raise your hand and jump right in as well. Let's start with question number 1. How can one truly connect to mourning over the Beis HaMikdash when we don't even really know what it is or what it was like when we did have it?
Get to know what it was. Get to know what it is. That's a simple answer. It's a cop-out answer, but it's true, right? I feel like it's based on a premise that I don't think has to be true for everybody. You're in yeshiva, and this is the time to really not only learn about the big questions in life, but about Jewish history. Yes, Jewish history does exist before the Holocaust, thousands of years, 3,334 years plus of Jewish history, even going back to Avram Avinu. And the Beis HaMikdash, this is something that I was shocked to learn actually when it came to Eish. I didn't know that there was such a concept as Jewish kingship in the land here in Israel for 800 years. I didn't know that. Not by any fault of my own. You all know my history. So raised in a disconnected family, Jewish family albeit, but former Soviet Union. And therefore, it wasn't in the textbooks in Russia, that's for sure. But at least you would expect that when you get to America, you're in public school, it's so pluralistic. You learn about different cultures and different times. You would at least get to learn about Jewish kingship in the land of Israel. 800 years, for crying out loud. And I remember global earth sciences and, global poli-sci in 9th grade. Right? I still remember Mr. Tabitas, sweet guy, Greek guy happens to be, it's ironic. In New York City public schools, and we covered Egypt, the great superpower of Egypt, and we covered its mysterious downfall, which the textbooks themselves admit was mysterious. We covered the Assyrian and Babylonian rise. We covered the Greeks and the beginning of the Greco-Roman influence around the world. But right smack in the middle, Eretz Yisrael, Jewish kingship, David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, and so on and so forth. 410 years, I believe, the first Beis HaMikdash, 420 years, the second Beis HaMikdash. Only 70 years in between. Not one drop of ink spilled on that. When I came here, I was shocked at what I was hearing. So it's quite shocking. It changes your whole perspective on civilized human history, really. Recorded history. You should learn about it, but not only from a historical perspective. You should also learn Maseches Tamid. There's a Masechta, one of the tractates of the Gemara, Babylonian Talmud, is a Masechta called Tamid. It's very short, actually. What is it? 17? 7 daf? 7 daf. 8 daf. Mostly Mishnayos, by the way, and it's all about the service in the Beis HaMikdash, the daily service in the Beis HaMikdash. Also Maseches Yuma. Right now, the Daf Yomi all around the world, hundreds of thousands of Yidden around the world are learning Maseches Yuma. Deals heavily with the significance of the Beis HaMikdash, the service in the Beis HaMikdash, the greatness of the Beis HaMikdash, and the one thing that Beis HaMikdash offered back then that we really don't have nowadays, beyond all the physical grandeur, is the aspect of kapara, which I'm sure we'll speak about. And the good news for you is that if you want to start learning Maseches Yuma a little bit on the sides, there's plenty of harusas out there, because plenty of people just learned it. We're about to finish Mitzvah Shem soon, next week. And that's my advice. Make the premise of this question flawed and get to know about it.
There are always two ways to arouse an emotion. Tuluya b'davar and eno tuluya b'davar. So for example, love. There's a love that is tuluya b'davar, which means it depends on something. There's a love that's eno tuluya b'davar, it's not dependent. So how do you create love that's dependent? You think about all the great things about the other person, or if you want to create ahavat Hashem. I love Hashem. The Rambam says you have to do hitbonenut. You have to contemplate the greatness of Hashem, and that will bring you to love. Because your thoughts create your emotions. Then we have something called Eino Tuluya B'davar, which means it's not dependent, which means your neshama loves Hashem already. So you just need to clear away your mind, your thinking, and tap into your neshama through breath and meditation. So too, if you want to build up pain for the loss of the Beit HaMikdash, there's two ways to do that. Either teluya b'davar, so one of them would be to learn Masechtas Yuma and Tamid and understand the history. Another one would be this hit baninut idea, which is to contemplate what it means to have a temple. I didn't know what it means, but what does it mean to have a temple, and what does it mean to lose the temple, and what have I lost in my life actually by not having a temple? And if there was a temple, we'd have a direct relationship with Hashem, and there wouldn't be so much divorce and depression and pain and stuff. And so that's called contemplation, to arouse your emotion. Then we have another Jewish meditation technique called dimyon. Dimyon means imagination. So just imagine the Beit HaMikdash. Just imagine the glory and the majesty and the splendor of the Beit HaMikdash. And the Levi'im singing songs, moving songs. And then imagine it being burned down and people dying and blood-spilled streets. And so use your power of imagination. And then the Eino Teluya B'davar is, your neshama is in pain. You just don't feel your neshama. So that would take different types of meditation just to completely clear your mind and tap into the pain. Try and find that point of pain within yourself and breathe into the pain and feel the pain. So those are three practical things. Two of them dependent, contemplation and imagination. And the other one is tapping into that place where your neshama does feel the loss, the pain. The final way is, and really I think this is one of the keys of what Tisha B'Av is about, is if you can't feel your own pain, then you've got to feel the pain of other people, of others. So who's really in pain? We say the Shekhinah, Hashem's in pain. Hashem's house is burned down. So if you can't feel your own pain, you can try and feel other people's pain. So Hashem's in pain that he doesn't have a house in the world at the moment. You try and tap into that.
One of the ways to understand the 3 weeks and the last of Beis HaMikdash, like my dear friends Rabbonim are saying, is that let's remove Beis HaMikdash of this house. Let's remove like a house, whatever this picture we have, and you should have a picture also because you can learn Talmud and you can imagine. But let's sort of strip that away for a second, and I want to just tell you one teaching in the Medrash. It says why God made the world. It says that God made the world. Mis'av HaKodesh Baruch Hu. It says that God had a taiva. Whatever that means. That God really wanted something. And he made the world. The purpose is Hashem made the world because he had a taiva. He yearned to have a dir b'tachtonim. Have a home down in the lower world. So what does that mean? It means that God is infinite. And even though he's infinite, he wants a relationship with the creation. It's for us, yes, it's for us to enjoy that relationship. But Hashem wants that. He wants to be revealed in this world. Which means the purpose of creation is coming through God being revealed in this world. And every time that he's not revealed in this world, and we seem to see horrible things happening, where we don't see him, that's called a chilul Hashem. Chilul Hashem means like a halal. A halal is an empty space, like a vacuum. So something which is empty, it's missing something. So when God's name is profaned, something happens where God seems like he's missing. And people say this, it was such a tragedy. Where was God? So that's a problem because he wants to reveal himself, but he will hide himself if we are not doing things properly. The Beis HaMikdash means when we're Klal Yisrael, when we're at a state that we're doing the things that allow him to be revealed. And when he's revealed, there's no divorce and there's no sickness anymore. And there's this beauty, especially the third Beis HaMikdash is going to be the ultimate. All the problems that people are going through, the the tragedies that are going on in the world, those are all called concealing God. When Beis HaMikdash exists, it means that God now, there's a place in this world, a dir b'tachtonim, that He is totally revealed. Which means you could go to this place, not just there, that was where it was really intense. You could go to this place, and so when you would get into the Beis HaMikdash, we were talking to the Intachnim, you just pishut yadayim v'raglayim. You just, like the Rebbe jumping off the stage. You just, complete loss of nullification of, you saw God, so to speak. There's open miracles happening there. It was so clear to you when you went to the Beis HaMikdash that you were going to be religious at least for a week after that. That God was completely clear. There was no doubt. Doubt is the gematria Amalek. Amalek is doubt. Everything about Amalek and Haman and the forces of evil in the world is doubt. The Beis HaMikdash was a symbol. There's no doubt. You went to this place, and it was what they say when heaven and earth kissed. There was like a meeting where God was. That's why everything in the Beis HaMikdash didn't make sense. It was miracles. There was things that were not taking up any space there. Everything was miraculous there. You came to this place and you recalibrated that God is real. He's in this world. Do you know how much we could use that nowadays? When we're going through depression and anxiety and we feel lonely and we feel like there's tragedies and there's still hundreds of people missing, how many people missing in Miami right now? And we need clarity. We need to feel like there's a plan, like God is with us. If we had the Beis HaMikdash, we would see the world in a totally clear way. So yes, there's a building, but it's really the neshama inside the building that was missing. That's why it says that when Titus came and burned down the Beis HaMikdash, it was like a house of cards. He didn't burn anything down. It was already gone. The soul left, and there was just like an empty, he flicked it over. It was just like that last part. It was that we did things to conceal God in the world. Like it says, sinas chinam, we baseless hatred, etc. You know how badly we need that back? A place of clarity, that God is with us and He's taking care of us. So part of the connecting to the mourning is that we do know what this is. It's not we don't know what this is. We know that this is a place where God is revealed. And if you felt moments of clarity in your life, that's like a Beis HaMikdash moment. The fact that we don't have that is so sad, is so horrible. And all, like Reb Dubov was saying, that all the problems and all the tragedies of the world are just flowing out of the fact that there's no place. It's a symbol of total clarity that God runs the entire world. So that can hopefully pull us a little bit closer to what we're missing.
Hashem tells us in the Torah to serve Him from a state of simcha, to do mitzvahs in a state of simcha. How can we then be told by the rabbis to increase our simcha during the 3 weeks? Recent addition.
That's a good question.
I just say very quick. It says, when Av comes in, Mishenichnas Adar first, Marm B'Simcha. When Av goes in, Mishenichnas Av Mematen. You lessen B'Simcha. You lessen, but B'Simcha.
So, to quote the Rebbe, the Rosh Hashiva Zatzal of Noach Weinberg, blessed memory, first thing you do is define your terms. It's hard to have a conversation with someone. Oftentimes you're speaking around the same subject when your terms are vague and undefined. So let's define our terms. So what is simcha? So how do you define simcha? So I'm not going to go through the whole mahalach right now. The mahalach of Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal, famous idea that he learns out that simcha, the idea of simcha, just to cut to the chase, means an experience of expansion beyond one's natural bounds for a purpose. A purposeful sense of expansion beyond one's natural bounds. That when a person experiences that is simcha. So, experiencing expansion for a purpose. You're building, okay? So that's simcha. So, it kind of puts into question the image of simcha that pops up into our minds usually when we think of the word. Be b'simcha, right? Dance on top of cars, blast music, whatever the case is, right? Why aren't you smiling? Why aren't you b'simcha? I am perfectly b'simcha right now. I don't need to smile in order to be b'simcha. You don't know what I'm experiencing right now, right? All those outward, superficial manifestations of simcha could very well be just that, right? But that's a misconception. So when we reframe it this way, it explains a lot. For instance, famous idea, the Navi has to be b'simcha, in a state of pure and utter, unadulterated simcha when they are experiencing nevuah. In fact, as a condition of experiencing nevuah, of prophecy, they must be in the state of simcha. Now, if you explain simcha as joy, right, jubilation, then you're in trouble. Because Yirmiyah was a Navi, and he was the one who saw with perfect clarity the destruction of the base of Mikdash and all those tragedies that Rav Moshe Chaim was discussing in the streets flooded with blood that Rav Dov Ber was discussing. He saw that before it even happened to people that he knew it was going to happen to, so to speak, if we didn't shape up. How can it be b'simcha? Famous question. Every negative nevuah that you find in Tanakh, and Tanakh unfortunately is full with tons of negative nevuahs, how could those prophets get that nevuah and be in a state of joy? Wouldn't that kill the buzz, in a certain sense, right? And so therefore you can't define simcha with that superficial definition. And so when the Torah tells us that all of these curses that the Torah tells us in Parshas Kisavo are going to fall upon you, people think that Hashem sends us these klalos, these curses, these seemingly bad things in this world because we must have been making a lot of mistakes. Funny enough, that might be true, that's only half the truth, right? The full truth and nothing but the truth is, it says black and white in the Torah, the reason that all this is happening is not because you didn't serve me, says Hashem. It's because you served me, but you didn't serve me b'simcha. Whoa, that's heavy. I was doing all the mitzvahs, but I didn't do b'simcha, and therefore I got all these punishments. What's going on here? So the answer is very simple. It's exactly what Rav Moshe Chaim just said. Hashem created this world. He's not a sadist. People see Hashem as a sadist. That's wrong. He wants to give. He wants us to enjoy. He wants us to enjoy the relationship with Him first and foremost. He wants us to enjoy this world and the next. And therefore, if we do mitzvahs, but we do it from a state of constriction, beina mitzarim, that in this time period, as it's called, in a time of constriction, and we do mitzvahs because it's an ol, it's just a burden. Now it is an ol, it is a burden, but you shouldn't experience it that way. And when people kvetch and schlep through davening and rush through things, and instead of wanting to daven, they want to have daven at the end of the day. They don't want to daven, they want to have daven, right? I have to bench. No, you get to bench. I train my kids to say, I get to bench. Hold on, wait, I get to bench. Wait for me, I'll be there in however long it takes, right? So if you serve Hashem as if it's constriction, then it's going against the whole purpose of creation. The whole purpose of creation is for you to feel a sense of simcha. What is simcha? An experience of expansion behind your natural bounds. Natural bounds being your body, olam hazeh, this physical world, the illusion that we imagine is total reality, which it is not. And so when we serve Hashem b'simcha, it means we can be going through, God forbid, lo aleinu, aveilus. We can be mourning the loss of one of the 7 closest relatives. That's a mitzvah d'oraisa, according to most, especially on the first day. Mitzvah d'oraisa, mitzvah in the Torah. To what? To mourn the loss. And that mitzvah also, ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. But if I experience that from a state of, I'm receiving from Hashem right now, and I feel that, yes, it's sad, and I'm sad. I am sad. And it's a mitzvah to be sad at that moment, by the way. But you should still be b'simcha. You should be sad b'simcha. When I follow the halachas of Avelis, that cathartic experience will bring me to a state of experiencing expansion behind my natural bounds. So too, in these times, all the halachas that you just learned from Rav Meltzer, Shlita, you can do all of those b'simcha. You could be stinky b'simcha. No, don't be stinky, by the way. V'haftu l'recha kamocha still applies. Don't be stinky. You know what I mean? Okay.
The next question?
We've always got a voda. Everything we do in our lives is a voda. And the avoda, and you have to ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. Your avoda you have to do b'simcha. So what is the avoda of this time? The avoda of this time is pain. That is the avoda. It's called beina metzarim, which means in the painful time. But if you know how to do pain properly, that will bring you to a place of simcha. So, I think maybe I'm going to say almost the opposite. It's a time of, why do you mimatim b'simcha then? Because as we know, the definition of simcha is to be beyond, get beyond. So to experience your pain fully, sometimes you should not get beyond it. You should go into it and feel it. Lots of people want to escape their pain, justify their pain, judge their pain, and say, I shouldn't feel this, I'm bad for feeling this. If I had more emunah, I wouldn't feel pain. And maybe even from a place of real simcha, you could do that, because I'm beyond all that stuff. But maybe we're saying now, actually, I don't want you to do that. But now I want you to actually go into your pain. Why? Not to be in your pain and to wallow in your pain, but so that you can use your pain. There's always purpose to our pain. So take away a little bit of your expansiveness, which might actually disconnect you from your pain, and sit in your pain for a while. Why? To actually get you to a much deeper place of simcha afterwards. It's always there to bring you ultimately to simcha. You're going to have to let go of your expansiveness to experience the real pain for a little bit, just at the right time. And that's called emotional balance. I'm not controlled by my pain, but I'm also not detached from my pain. I know how to feel it and then come out.
We're told that fasting is such a central component of Tisha B'Av, and fasting in general is a big theme that we have on a lot of holidays. How does one connect to fasting, especially if it makes you feel weak, gives you a caffeine headache, so on and so forth? How are we supposed to connect to it?
That is how you connect to it. My least favorite, well, it's not my least favorite, but we just had it the other day. Hi Rabbi, have an easy fast. What? Someone said that to me the other day, whenever it was Sunday. Hi Rabbi, have an easy fast. I looked at them and they were, I'm sorry, a meaningful fast. Like, yeah, okay. Easy fast? What do you want an easy fast for? What's an easy fast going to do? Nothing. Nothing. You don't grow from having an easy fast. You're meant to feel weak, have a caffeine headache. Don't be a baby. But what are you going to do with the pain? That's the whole point. Are you going to be a victim to, I feel so weak now, I just can't wait to eat? Or are you going to say, so what am I going to do with the pain? Am I going to let the pain control me? Or am I going to be like, I can be hungry and not be a baby? You don't have to shout at other people and be hungry. I'm hungry. Why did you shout at your wife? Well, I didn't have breakfast. You baby. You're not ready to get married if you can't miss breakfast and not shout at your wife. So number one, you don't have to let how you feel control. You don't have to do something because you feel it. My son Binyamin, that actually happened a while ago when he was 7, he said, Abba. He was like, Abba, I'm hungry. I was like, that's okay. His mum's like, what do you want? Not done. He just said he's hungry. He didn't say what's food got to do with that. Let him be hungry. The kid's going to grow up thinking you're hungry, you have to eat. Oh my goodness. It's okay being hungry. Not so bad. So number one, be hungry. Number two, gratitude. How about this? Tisha B'Av, as soon as the fast comes out, you're going to stuff your face. That's another thing we'll talk about. But there are thousands of people in the world who don't have anything to eat. They're hungry all day and they're not going to have anything to eat tonight. How about that? And the time people in the Beit HaMikdash, they were eating their own children. So how about using your pain and your hunger to tap into the energy of the day? How about this? Hunger. Thirst means yearning. Start asking yourself, what am I yearning for? What do I want? I'm hungry. If you're hungry, I'm really hungry for what? Ragalach? No, I'm hungry for a connection to Hashem. And everything else you're all hungry for, it's just because you think it's going to give you shlemut, it's going to give you completion and pleasure. But say, hold on, what am I really hungry for? You should have a haven't said a bracha headache. I don't know, a cup of coffee headache. Your neshama is having I haven't said a bracha for like 20 minutes headache. I have to make a bracha. I need a cup of coffee, I'm shaking. You should be like, I need to say a bracha. I need to daven mincha. Is it Torah? Give me some Torah. I've got to learn Torah. Why don't you get up? Haven't learned Torah for 20 minutes headache, but you get a caffeine headache. So start wanting the right thing, yearning for the right thing. And the final thing is, just because we talk about fasting, how you break the fast says much more about you than how you fast. Now if you fast all day and you're whining about it, and then you're like every 10 minutes, 10 minutes left, 10 minutes left, you just miss the whole purpose of the fast. But even worse is when the fast comes to an end, and you're this, we finished morning, and you're like, get over it, like the shiver boards, like, get the rugla, Baruch atah. You idiot. You got a bracha, you can make a bracha. You've got to add 10 minutes onto the fast at least. That's pasha. It's not halacha. So don't do that. But do it. Why do you do it? Add 10 minutes onto your fast to show who's really in control. What are you? So add 10 minutes onto your fast. Once you've added 10 minutes onto your fast, where are you? I'm adding 10 minutes onto my fast. But what's going to happen is you've decided, you know what? I'm going to be a bit stark. I'm adding 10 minutes on my fast. But what you're going to do is, as soon as 10 minutes up, you're like, 10 minutes is up. Oh. So you messed that up, so you've got to add another 5 minutes to your fast. So you sit down at the end and you get a piece of watermelon. So don't eat a rogalach after fasting for that. You should do a week-long carrot juice fast. I'm not joking.
I know, it's great.
I did, that's what I did. But, so take your piece of watermelon and look at it and be like, wow, I'm going to connect to Hashem with this bracha and this eating now. That's the whole purpose of eating. If you don't do that, you've messed up the whole purpose of the fast. The whole problem was we don't have a relationship with Hashem, so we're in pain. So use your bracha and your eating for a relationship with Hashem. The fasting is Geshmak. Next.
Take that mic and drop it, right? Can I say something on that question, though?
No, of course.
Yeah? It's hard. You're a hard act to follow. You're not an act. That's what makes you so hard to follow. Yeah, I want to say, so funny. I want to say the opposite. No, not exactly. Not exactly. But I want to say, the question is, how do I connect to fasting? I know I'm going to be nudnik on the words, but don't connect to fasting. Fasting's horrible. I want to say that Hashem didn't put you in this world to fast. You're not supposed to fast. We're not supposed to be fasting this Tisha B'Av. We're supposed to be celebrating. Don't connect to the fast. It's awful that we're fasting. You should, every time you get a hunger pang, or you're thirsty, or you get that frustrating fatigue when you're trying to learn, and you're fasting, and you blame it on the fast, you should say, this is horrible. Why am I fasting again? Oh yeah, because my ancestors ruined it. They blew it. And guess what? Most of the generations following in their footsteps, and maybe I am too. So don't connect to fasting. It's horrible. I mean, do it for health purposes, that's true. There is a huge to'elis to fasting the right way in the right time. But not on Tisha B'Av. We should not be fasting on Tisha B'Av, period. The Navi calls it a moed, it's a holiday. It's supposed to be a holiday. You're not supposed to be fasting on Tisha B'Av, it's horrible. Okay, so that's number one. And the second thing I want to say is a beautiful idea, and that is that fasting is bad for so many reasons. And Tisha B'Av reminds us that we only have one mitzvah act of eating left, and that is, what's the one mitzvah that's doraisa that we have left to eat? To eat. Matzah. I see you mumbling it. Matzah. Say it loud and proud. Matzah on Pesach. Right? Matzah is a mitzvah doraisa from the Torah today to eat. Hashem wants us to eat. What are we missing out on nowadays? Which eatings are we missing out on? Achilas kodshim. There's a bracha. There's a bracha that that humanity has been starving to say for thousands of years. Al achilas kodshim. A blessing to eat kodshim, to eat korbanos, to eat korban pesach, to eat the meat. Yes, the fat, juicy meat. Hashem wants us to eat meat. Hashem wants us to enjoy. Hashem created this world for us to enjoy. And eating is super. How do you know eating is super deep and Hashem wants us to eat it? How do you know? First mitzvah in the Torah: eat. Eat from everything. Just enjoy. Just don't eat the wrong way. Right? Let me mess that up too. But I just wanted to point out, this is very beautiful. There's a connection between the one mitzvah left of eating, which is achilas matzah on Pesach, and the tainis Tisha B'Av. What is? The Ramah brings in Shulchan Aruch. First night of Seder always falls out on the same day of the week. That Tisha B'Av will fall out on. And the whole Seder night is all remazim. It's all hinting to the fact that how did the Golus Mitzrayim, the exile in Egypt, start? We sold our brother, who was a tzaddik, right? Sinas chinam, familial troubles, and then we dipped his coat in blood. That's the dipping that happens on the night of Pesach, all reminding us of what got us into this big mess in the first place. The two dippings, the dipping of the blood on the lintels of the doorpost when we were leaving Egypt, and the dipping that got us in the first place. So it's very much connected. Hashem, point blank, Hashem does not want us to ever fast. He wants us to eat and enjoy. That's my little piece. Don't connect to fasting, it's horrible.
And the Svarim speak a lot, this idea of taking feelings and associating them with God. Everything in this world is an analogy. Every one of your friendships is an analogy. It says that when the Torah says that you're going to get married, it says V'yim shalbach, that the man will be, he'll guide the home. But before I got married, I spoke to one of the big tzaddikim here. If you take the words V'yim shalbach, bach, in you, in your wife, will be the mashal, will be the entire analogy of all of life. You'll understand life so deeply. Everything in this world is an analogy to understand God. Even this moment right now, the idea of being in a shir, of learning Torah with friends, what rabbis are, what colleagues are, what is sun and moon, it's all an analogy of God. So hunger, like Rabbi Dubov was saying, and thirst is a very big thing they speak about in the holy books, is that when you feel that there's a moment that I am hungry. I'm hungry for God. I'm hungry for you. I'm hungry. That's a sign that God put into us every single day as a gift. That all of a sudden 1 o'clock comes and there's a feeling of, 12:59, fine. I'm hungry. Now, you're not just hungry for the schnitzel. You're hungry for the bracha. You're hungry for God. The schnitzel's a hechi timtza. It's like just a way to, you're really hungry for something more. It's the relationship to God through the schnitzel. So on this day, there's a real, you can feel that. You can feel that a lot. It's not easy, because it's also a long fast. It starts at night. And it's also not easy because, you spend all day, you're not just sleeping the day away. You spend all day on the floor. When I go on Tisha B'Av, people are crying. Literally, it's hard to even describe it. Literally, wailing. Simar will be wailing for 27 hours straight. It's not a game. It literally just, it's like draining. Even that feeling of draining, of like, I'm so, like we talked about today in Tachan, I'm like, what do I have left? All of those are feelings that you can connect to during the fast. I suggest also do meaningful things. Fasting is not about fasting. The Navi says, I don't look at your fasting, I look at what you do. So it's a great day not to watch a lot of Netflix. It's a great day to just be in tune, especially this year. It comes after Shabbos, which means that it's a rare thing that this happens, that all the energy of Shabbos is like pouring in to Tisha B'Av. It's very auspicious that Mashiach should come. Very auspicious. Make it meaningful and try to connect to those feelings of the fasting. And it's not easy. Like Rav Michal Zaman saying, it's not easy. It's a moyed. We shouldn't be fasting. But it's a day to reflect, what am I not doing right? And I know this is very personal, but what am I not doing right in my life? Everyone's here is, you guys are all mature. We're mature enough to say, I could take an honest look in the mirror. And what am I doing that's preventing that there's a full revelation of God? And that's something that a person, after at least a few minutes of being initiated, can hear those words. What am I doing? Because B'kol Dor V'Dor, the Beis HaMikdash is not built. Ba'oisai Dar Hu Nichrav. It's like it's being destroyed again. It wasn't destroyed 2,000 years ago. It's being destroyed all the time. So what am I doing right now that's preventing that from being built? And everything is designed on Tisha B'Av to pull us to that feeling of, I want to be better. By the way, in the afternoon, we get up. That's why you're going to only put on tefillin after Chatzos, and we're going to daven mincha after. It's a great time to call people that maybe things didn't go well. It's a great time to make peace with people. It's a great time to send emails to people that just, I'm sorry. That also has a way of just, you're not being distracted from the fast. You're channeling it in the right way. So it's not just like I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, no. Take that and put it into something.
We have time for just one more question because we have to end soon. So just a short response from each of the panel contestants. What is your most touching and impactful memories from the 9 days and or Tisha B'Av?
And then just something that I was mentioning before when I was with different righteous people on Tisha B'Av, and just seeing what they look like. And even after the kinnis here, people want, I can tell you can come, you could get in the cab. Tisha B'Av, you can come. They'll still be saying slichas into the afternoon, where I could take you somewhere, where there's literally, it's like, there was a famous story of Napoleon. And Napoleon was going around Europe and he was conquering everything, and he came to a shul in Europe, and he saw that it was Tisha B'Av and Jews were doing something in their synagogues, crying, and he asked his general, said, go in there, find out what's happening. He said, the temple was destroyed in Jerusalem. He said, temple in Jerusalem? Napoleon, I would have known of a temple being destroyed in Jerusalem. I don't know of such a temple. He said, go back and find out what happened. He said, yeah, it was destroyed about 1800 years ago. And Napoleon said, any people that's still crying over their temple 1800 years later, now it's 2000 years later, will surely see it rebuilt. When you're with people that are really like crying, and it's a Jewish thing to really cry. It's who we are. It's what we do. So when I really saw that more firsthand, people really, there wasn't many speeches. It's just pure raw emotion. It touched me in a way like what this is really, and that has stayed with me, and it's impacted me greatly forever.
I don't really have a thing that stands out majorly, but I remember one year I was in America or Canada, and I had to get back to Israel. And the flight, for whatever reason, they'd booked my flight on Tisha B'Av. Someone had brought me out to run a Shabbaton, and so I asked Poskim, Halachic authorities, am I allowed to fly on Tisha B'Av? You're not meant to do anything that might be a bit dangerous during the 3 weeks, especially not on Tisha B'Av. And they say, not only are you allowed to fly, it's a mitzvah to come to Israel. Said that. So I think the air hostesses were a bit upset that I was sitting on the floor.
Sir, put your seatbelt on.
I'm sorry, I can't. I don't sit on chairs. Give me another 4 hours. But that was geschmack. I was like sitting on the plane coming back to Israel on Tisha B'Av, and I'm allowed to because it's a mitzvah to come to Israel.
That's cool. No particular moment stands out in my mind, but I'll tell you what's interesting is that I was privileged to be a student here for 7 years in the yeshiva. And if you notice, there's a family and a group of students in the Rova, Yehudi, in the Jewish quarter here. They walk around all day with their tefillin on. They go in the tradition of the Vilna Gaon. So on Tisha B'Av, you won't see them walking around for the whole long morning with their tefillin on. And I just remember walking in on Tisha B'Av, and davening tends to start a little bit later in the day, on Tisha B'Av here at Asia Torah. And I was walking in, and you're not supposed to wear shoes that are made out of leather, maker a din. According to, that means primarily speaking, like letter of the law, you're not supposed to wear leather shoes, but you're really, whatever, there's different opinions on it, but wearing comfortable shoes, very comfortable shoes, that are not leather, it's also discouraged, because the whole purpose is that you should feel a certain type of an inui, of affliction. But it's mutter, it's allowed. And I was wearing my house slippers. Okay, I kind of feel the ground a little bit. It's hard, especially old city stone. And I walked into the Jewish quarter, and I see the people that are usually walking around to and fro, very busy, going to do chesed, going to learn Torah, and they usually look very fresh, right? Like nice shoes, tefillin on, just like very regal looking. And all of a sudden, the whole city everyone is just drab and they walk barefoot. Many of them, if not most, will walk in the old city barefoot, no tefillin. And at that moment, it just hit me, and I just realized, like, this is really how the world looks from a spiritual perspective every single day. And worse, this is still like the pinnacle of human civilization, if you ask me. But the world, it hit me at that moment, when walking through the old city, I'm like, when were these streets built? You know, like, I see the restaurants, I'm like, this is the old city. It just feels so foreign to what its potential is. And at that moment, like, I just started like crying, you know, like just at that moment, just walking through the streets, you just start crying. You're just like, I think that everything's okay, and it's a defense mechanism. You have to tell yourself every single day that everything's okay and everything's gonna be okay, but everything is not okay. It's like really not okay. Like really not okay. And we fool ourselves and we think it's, you know, this is the way of the world and it's okay. It's not okay. And I think just seeing sites like tzaddikim, who are usually super happy, the happiest, most fulfilled people in the world, just wailing really for hours on end, and seeing a fully functional Torah society that is so pristine, just like in shambles, you know, and just no one's talking, can't greet anyone. That was also for me very difficult. I'm an extrovert, some might say. Don't say shalom. Can't say shalom. Can't say shalom. I don't understand. That was the hardest thing for me. That was another memorable thing. Coming into Isha Torah,
so hard.
As a student here for like 5 years at that point, and you see everyone you know and love, and you just look away. What is that? That was for me very poignant and sad.
And this year especially, I think it was 13 years ago, I think. It was after Shabbos, so you're going to go from the high of Shabbos. Literally, the Shabbos, there's no morning on Shabbos. The highest high of Shabbos here in the yeshiva. And then the second Havdalah, you're even going to have your shoes. People bring them. It's like, you're like prepared. It's instantly to go into a state of mourning. They're going to turn down the lights, take off the pareiches. It's a very intense thing. It's very real. We're missing that relationship of Hashem being here. We should have it, mamish. And then look ourselves in the mirror to see what we can do.
Amen.
Thank you, Katz.